The sale of the Carolina Hurricanes has finally come to a close, so I thought we'd take a look at the details of the sale and the state of the franchise. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel and you love unbiased hockey talk on all 31 NHL teams, consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So the Carolina Hurricanes' new owner finally has taken ownership. New majority owner Tom Dundon now officially owns 61% of the Hurricanes. Peter Carmanos has retained the other 39% and will stay on as a minority owner for the time being. The new owner has the option of purchasing the remaining percentage of the team over the next 3 years. So of course the first question that came to mind, as we previously had discussed, the new owner has already made sure he's put it out there that the team is not moving. When he was asked about it, he made sure, he said it was perfectly clear the team is staying put and it's not something he's even considered at all. So with that in mind, it's obviously for people in Carolina who love hockey, fans of the Hurricanes, players of the Hurricanes, that's certainly great news for you guys. If you live in an area that you're hoping to bring an NHL team to, for example, Quebec City, possibly Houston, although I think if the Hurricanes did move or any team in the East moved, I think Quebec City would be the prime location. So with all this news and the fact that it's finally finalized, and just take a look at the franchise as a whole and see exactly the state of this franchise and where it is, and take a look at where everything's at. Now there's been some reports on the amount that was paid for the Hurricanes and their valuation, etc. And some of those figures and some reports out there don't seem to be accurate. The information I have on the numbers came from Forbes website. They actually not too long ago completed their most recent evaluation of the NHL franchises as well. And the Hurricanes were at the bottom of the list. So now let's take a look at some of the hard numbers. So according to Forbes, the actual valuation used during the sale of this from Carmanos to Dundon was $420 million. I've seen some reports saying it was 500, or I think I even saw 520 out there. But 420 is the valuation used. Now that's not what he actually paid. That's what they valued 100% of the team to be valued at when they were doing the negotiations to complete this deal. So obviously he bought 61%, so you can do the math and probably figure out what he actually spent out of pocket. Now a few things that the new owner immediately mentioned as pluses was that their current arena has a lease on it for the next few years. They're good until 23-24 season. So that's, lots of time. And he said he'd even consider, even now, discussing an extension. So obviously that definitely shows his commitment to keep the team there. Which kind of surprises me as a new owner coming in with a struggling franchise. They have an existing lease for another 4 or 5 years. That's fantastic. It gives you time to kind of get see what you can do with this team. But I wouldn't be discussing an extension just yet. But he's said that he would be willing to do that and consider extending it real soon. So I guess we'll see if there's any news on that coming anytime soon here. But that surprised me a little bit. But let's take a look at some of the other hard numbers here with this franchise. Around attendance and other things that kind of, I don't know, this is my State of the Hurricanes franchise address, if you will, and kind of see where we think things are going. So obviously I mentioned the arena lease, which is great. The Forbes magazine, who does the evaluations on NHL franchises from time to time, most recently valued them at $230 million. So obviously they paid significantly more money than what was actually valued at. Now, I'm not sure how they determined their valuation. Obviously, it was different than Forbes, but it looks like he definitely overpaid, according to Forbes anyway. So I'm not going to say whether he did or he didn't, but according to Forbes, he definitely overpaid. Now, if you look back into history here a little bit, I mean, Carmanos bought the team when they were still the Hartford Whalers. They were in Hartford, I believe, 3 years before moving down to Carolina. And obviously, it's they've been there a long time and they've struggled a long time. I mean, they do have some success back in the earlier 2000s. We had a 2006 Stanley Cup, and really been downhill ever since. Really, they haven't made the playoffs since 2009. Their attendance figures have been they've been last in the league the past 2 seasons. They're, I believe, second last so far. Now that was as of I think the 24-25 game mark. I don't suspect that's changed a whole lot though. But the last rankings I saw from ESPN around NHL attendance figures, they were second last, and I think that was at the 24-25 game mark. So they're only drawing anywhere between 12 and 12,500. It's probably somewhere in there's their average fan attendance, where the arena can actually seat, I believe it's 18,500 or 600 is what the arena holds. So there's certainly a big gap there for them to fill. The new owner has also mentioned some ideas he has to kind of hopefully revive the team a little bit. He said there were some arena upgrades he wanted to make around, especially around the amenities. I think he's trying to make it more attractive in order to bring fans in. They're probably going to take a look at ticket prices, would be my guess as well. But they do have a tough time drawing. Now, if you live in the Carolina area and you've been to Hurricanes games, maybe you can speak about the area a little bit more than I can. But why is it, in your opinion, that the team struggles to bring the fan base in? I have my thoughts, and I'm going to give them to you now, but I'd certainly like some comments down below to tell me what you think. I mean, if you live in the Carolina area, I would like a local perspective. And if you don't, and you have your thoughts, certainly share those as well. But if anybody out there is in the area, I'd really be curious to see that local perspective, to see what it is. Now, obviously, here are my thoughts. You take a look at this franchise, they haven't made the playoffs since 2009. That's a long stretch of time. I mean, ever since their Stanley Cup victory, it has been a very poor on-ice performance. They do not have anybody you would kind of call a bona fide superstar. Now, if you look around the league, some of these markets might be tough without their top guys. You know, like they don't have a top player. I mean, they had Eric Stahl, which is probably the closest they've ever come to having that big marquee name. I mean, obviously he was, he was there a long time. He played a big role in their early success and in the early 2000s after being drafted. So they don't have a bona fide superstar. They haven't had a winning product on the ice. Where they've made the playoffs now going on 7-8 years. So obviously that certainly plays a role as well. And the other thing that which kind of surprised me looking at all this stuff is it's kind of decreased so much now. But back in 2014, they were giving away as many as 4,000 tickets a game. That was their average. Now they've whittled that down slowly. They've been cutting it back, trying to not do the giveaways and trying to entice people to come and pay. Now they're down to, I think it's around 1,000 tickets a game that they give away. But 4,000, imagine that. If they're only drawing 12 and they're giving away 4, I mean, it's hard to get the arena full even with the giveaway. So obviously it's a tough market. I know one quote I seen, which I believe was some of the local people down there talking about how, just the overall economics of the North South Carolina area, that really since 08-09, that the recession, when that recession hit, that things just haven't recovered down there, as well as some other areas in the U.S., and that the market just as a whole is just struggling. So I mean, I don't know a lot about the economics of those areas based on other than what we've had from the Forbes reports. So that's why I'm kind of looking for a local perspective here. So if you do live in that area, or you live close enough that you've visited, certainly leave some comments around if you think the local economics are really impacting this team. But even if that's not the problem, personally, I think the fact that they haven't won in a long time, they haven't had consistency, they haven't been able to keep a coach for too long, and that comes back to winning, putting a winning product on the ice, and they haven't had a bona fide superstar in a long time, and you could really debate that it's really ever really. I mean, Eric Stahl is probably as close as they've come, and at one point in time, Eric Stahl was a pretty big name. He's kind of revitalized himself now, and he's still kind of a big name up in Minnesota, but really, not to say that that's necessarily their fault, obviously, although you would think with the poor performance on the ice, they've quite often had a lot of high draft picks in the first round, and they haven't been able to find that real number one top superstar to really kind of sell the tickets. A lot of teams have a franchise player that really puts the butts in the seats, and they just don't have that. I mean, they do have some good players. I'm not totally disrespecting on the franchise, but they really need to make a strong effort. They need a face of the franchise that they can sell the game to. And then, even if the team isn't winning every game, that they want to come and watch these players because it's fun, it's entertaining. It's not a different style of game that's just not as fun to watch. So those are some state of the franchise to me is like, it seems odd. The new owner appears to have overpaid. He's confident he wants to keep the team where it is. He wants to do some arena upgrades. He wants to change some of the amenities in the arena. He's already talking about a lease extension, and they've still got 4 or 5 years left on their existing lease. So I guess for Hurricanes fans, this is really good news that you have a guy now who seems to have lots of energy and passion to improve things. He has, fairly deep pockets, but with the amount of money he's had to invest to look after, because he obviously did have to take a big chunk of the team debt over as well. So is that going to hinder his ability to spend top dollar to bring in some key players? That remains to be seen. So far, the reports indicate no, that he is reportedly a billionaire. So if that's really the case, that shouldn't be an issue. But I guess time will tell. So what I want to hear from you is, do you think it makes sense that this new owner can come in and revitalize this franchise and bring things back to a point where they're getting a lot better attendance, they can get a winning product on the ice, and hopefully they can succeed and have long-term viability in this city? I mean, we've seen other franchises that have done it. It's not like it's been unheard of. Unfortunately, we've seen cases as well where things didn't work out and they did end up having to move. But we've seen cases where other franchises appear to be down and out. And look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was on the brink of bankruptcy, and in comes Sidney Crosby. They get the draft lottery win. They get Crosby, and now look at them. Night and day, right? You've seen other times, even some of the original teams that have been around forever have hit their low points as well. And Detroit's been there, Chicago's been there, and they've had the ownership and the management team to kind of turn things around. And it takes time, but it can happen. So obviously great news for Carolina. If you're looking for a team in Quebec City, this is really another bummer. Another piece of sad news to go along with everything else that's come regarding NHL going back to Quebec City. But that's where it is. So it looks like those are my thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes franchise. So I think if I were the new owner, the first step is you need a face of the franchise. If you can't sell the game to the people if they don't have a good reason to come. And you need to have a fun product on the ice that can win, that can entertain, and it really helps you if you have at least that one top guy, that face of the franchise that can put the butts in the seats. So let me know what you think. If you liked the video, certainly hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, as I mentioned in the beginning, and you like unbiased hockey talk, consider subscribing today and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Don't forget as well to follow us on social media. You'll see a link right here to our Twitter account. There's also a Facebook and Instagram account that we have for this channel, which all the social media links are all in the description below. So certainly check us out there. We do share our videos, but we also have lots of other content that we like to share and have hockey discussions with everybody on those platforms as well. So we hope you liked today's video. Keep watching Top Shelf Hockey, and we'll be talking to you soon.